G'day, folks. It's me, Greg. It's Friday. We're back. We're doing Friday Lunch and Learn. I have a coffee and we're ready. We're basically ready. We're sort of ready. We're kind of ready. I'm going to open a whiteboard. We're going to quickly recap where we're up to because we've lost track a little bit over the last couple of weeks because there's been holidays, there's been all sorts of interesting things happening with AI skills, and then last week I did a whole thing basically with just the whiteboard talking about the data to insight value stream, which I love the data to insight value stream. It's a great conversation, but we need to get back to our where we were up to. And that is we were building a P&L data platform like GL reporting, right? GL reporting, consolidated P&L. This is what we were building. There's a lot of diagrams, I know, but it's essentially this guy right here. And we're building it for a CFO, and her name is Lisa. And and she's cool. We made her up last week. She has meetings and stuff. Let's find her in ChatGPT. I better move this over here just in case I've done some crazy ChatGPT I don't want anyone to see. All right, let me find Lisa. The daily routine of a CFO. That was it. So if you tuned in last week, we created this, which was we were talking about understanding the process that people go through and what their daily routine is, and then how we can integrate analytics into that daily routine, right? And it's really important. And we were speaking about one of her first meetings that she has in the day. So ChatGPT made up a person. Her name's Lisa. She's a CFO of Aardvark Industries. Here she is, a mid-sized manufacturing company. Cool. I know what we do now. Um, and this was the meeting. First thing in the morning, she has a meeting with her financial controls and key team members to review the company's cash flow, current financial status, and any concerns about the week's targets. So last week I went on and on and on about all of the different things associated with getting this data and putting it in. But now I want to actually then tie this back to the actual stuff we've been doing over the previous, I don't know, few months now. A few months we've been working on this. If you want to catch up with kind of the original story and then the flow, everything we've been through, everything's on the YouTube channel. But don't worry, I'll try and make each individual episode its own thing so that you don't have to necessarily catch up too much. So we're talking about Lisa. She has a report that she needs to run for this meeting. It's a quick meeting. It's just her and her key team members, but she's looking at a company's cash flow and current financial status. If when you say to me current financial status, I take that to mean balance sheet and P&L. So that's like three-way accounting reporting, right? Cash flow, current financial status, and then any other target related stuff. So we haven't really spoken about targets, but that's okay. Here is the architecture. Lisa's team captures ERP data in her in Excel spreadsheets, I think is what we were saying. So this is all the different departments. They have Excel spreadsheets and they put their budget data in there, right? So we're really only talking about actuals. This is also budgeting and forecasting because it's all part of the same GL reporting workflow. So we're going to build all of it, but we'll go through the whole workflow and then we'll talk about what we need specifically for Lisa's thing. And this is what I like about this technique here, right? The fact that we are focused on a specific meeting, on a specific report, means that we can target exactly what we're doing in Fabric and Power BI to just meet these needs, and we don't worry about all the other stuff, right? So right now, like we were talking about getting budget data from a bunch of different spreadsheets. We need to integrate that budget data in. We need to do a forecast. We were going to pipe that out to another spreadsheet to do some forecasting or another forecasting tool. We need to be able to calculate things like EBITDA and all these other cool calculations. Now, we definitely need to do that, right? Because that is going to be part of our current financial status meeting report. So these KPI calculations definitely need to happen on our actuals. They don't need to happen on the budget and the forecast, but they do need to happen on the actuals. And then we're going to put it through our medallion architecture, which have spoken about at length. We need to clean it up. This is our governance layer in bronze. We need to enrich it in our silver layer. We need to create nice, neat tables for our gold layer. And then we create our semantic model, and then we create a report. And then we get insight. Dun, dun, dun. Badly written insight. Okay, so this is complicated though, because it's complicated by the budgeting, the budgets being collected by lots of different departments, but we're not doing that. All we want to do is get our consolidated three-way reporting. Okay, you're up to speed. Hopefully recording's been going. It has. Hopefully my screen's shared. It is. Great. Um, cool. It's good to see you all as well. Welcome. If you're new, let me know. Put it in the chat of the Teams meeting and I'll be like, hi, how's it going? Let me know where you're from too. That'd be cool too. But that's what we're working on. That's what we're working on. And we have stuff. I haven't logged into Power BI. Let me log into Power BI. Hang on. Hang on. I'll go over here. I'm going to log into Power BI. Hopefully all of our stuff's still here. My fabric still hasn't expired. Cheers, Microsoft. Thank you for not expiring my fabric. Maybe today's the day. Let's see. How many days left? Oh, look what it says. Dun, 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 dun. 4 days to go. That means Tuesday next week. Is it really going to expire though? I don't believe it. And the only button I get is buy fabric. I don't have to acknowledge there was a tick box there before that said, I acknowledge I'm going to lose all my data and everything's going to, and the world's going to end. And now they've taken that tick box away. It's so weird following this. Like, they've threatened to expire my fabric capacity like 20 times. Haven't done it yet. Thanks, Microsoft. We love fabric. It's free at the moment, but probably won't be for another 4 days. Okay, we're in our Aardvark Finance workspace. Aardvark Finance, Aardvark Finance. I'm pretty sure that's right. Because, you know, we work for Aardvark Industries and they're a manufacturer. My fabric trial ends in 4 days. Oh, my Zoom's not working. I always forget to do all these like things. I should have like a checklist of things I need to turn on before I start streaming. One of them is Zoom it. Let's see if we can Zoom now. Zoom. Another reminder that my fabric trial ends in 4 days. Be afraid, everybody. If you need to know what to do when your fabric trial ends, then check out my thing on what to do when your fabric trial ends. Aardvark Finance doesn't have anything in it, so it must be something else. Let's search Aardvark. We've got a few Aardvarks. Okay, here we go. Aardvark Finance Dev. This is the prod workspace. We haven't published anything to prod, so it's empty. This is the one, the Dev workspace. This is our production workspace for our finance reporting. This says in tiny writing. Look at this. That is not true. This is the development workspace. Anyway. Okay, so things we've done, and we can look at our task flow because task flow is actually kind of handy for this exact thing, right? This is similar to the drawing I just showed you. We're thinking we're going to be bringing in a bunch of different things from all these different budget areas. Here's our budget areas. We're going to consolidate the budget. We're going to put them in a file store. We're going to do some KPIs and calculations. And then we're going to go to bronze. Now, if I click on this, it takes me to my bronze lakehouse. Isn't that cool? So you can use this to navigate your lakehouse as well. And then here's a silver lakehouse. Oh, it doesn't exist. And here's my gold lakehouse. Oh, it doesn't exist either. And this is a pipeline that does our conformance and standardization according to this. Nice. So task flows, I kind of like them. Kind of like them. Right, let's get back on track. I should try the new workspace features available on Microsoft Power Toys. Oh my goodness, that looks like some kind of crazy. Okay, you got me. You got me, Pranam. I'm gonna look. If this is a virus, I'm gonna be upset. Heise.de. So it's a German Power Toys workspaces. Starts programs at predefined locations. I guess I agree. Oh, this looks dodgy. Is this dodgy? No, it's been automatically translated. Practical workspaces functions. Oh. Okay. I don't know. I'll have to read through that. That's too much. It's too much for me to know right now. Give me like the top 3 things that does, Pranam, in the chat, and then I'll see if it's worth talking about. Okay. Bronze data. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to get our actuals together and build a cash flow statement for our friend Lisa for her morning meeting. And the first thing we're going to build is the cash flow statement. Then we're going to build the other things, which is the profit and loss and the G&L. And we can do that. We've already got some stuff happening in Power BI as well, right? You may remember. Um, I don't know if my aardvark cash flow statement thing is here. No. All right. Let's have to find it in Power BI. I have to find it online. I think I kept it somewhere. All right. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Look. Punch and learn, hey? It's called like financial reporting. This is what happens when it's not in my recent. So I'm just looking on my other. This is still loading. What is going on? Power toys. Okay, yeah, I don't know about that. Anniversaries, performance, position establishment. Oh, I've got lots of cool reporting here. You know what would be really cool? Just while this is opening, sorry, Power BI is taking a little while to open. Um, what would be really good is if we could augment Lisa's morning meeting with some AI. Because it's just a quick meeting, right? And she wants to just quickly review the cash flow, the current financial status, and any concerns about targets. Okay. So what does that mean in report terms? What are the reports we need? I'll throw that out to the crowd. It'll preload all your apps and specify things. So you can preload your webinar, apps and web. Oh, right. Yeah, that probably would be good. Thanks, mate. um, he was talking about power toys there. All right. Looks like Power BI is open now. Let me find my financial reports or aardvark. Aardvark. Income statement, profit and loss. Demo project. Okay, I'm going to open two different. I'm going to try this one first. I don't know if this will be right, but hopefully it'll look nice. And also, hopefully, it has fake data in it. I don't want to be showing anyone real data. That's why I've got Power BI on the other screen. But yeah, I think what I'd like to do is I want to build all this model up and then see if we. I don't think AI skills has quite got it yet, but I've got some ideas about techniques where we could maybe have an AI as a friend to them in this meeting that they could ask questions of. How cool would that be? And then I'll offer that to you as a service that I will build AIs for you that answer questions for your CFO, and you can pay me a lot of money. Does this look fake? Does this look particularly fake? It does. That's good. This looks nice and fake. All right, we're ready. So here's a P&L. So we kind of know how to build these reports. We've got a cash flow statement here. Hopefully it works. Oh, look at that. Here's a cash flow statement. It doesn't happen over time, but that's okay. Here's a balance sheet. There's a balance sheet. Fixed assets, total assets, liabilities, equity. So we've got a model, and we spoke about this a few weeks ago. And this isn't the perfect model. This is why it's not a perfect model. This bit here. Here. I don't like it because it's got a two-way and then this is a many-to-many. This is a many-to-many created like a bridge table. Anyway. But it's a pretty good model. It's not bad. So we need, okay, so what we need to think about for Lisa is we say to Lisa, cool, we'd be happy to help you with your morning meeting report. We need your general ledger data. That's the first thing, because here it is. It's here in our model. We need a general ledger data. We need the date. We need the organization. We don't need scenarios because we're not doing scenario reporting for this. Some scenarios would be like, what if the forecast was this? What if the forecast was that? What if the forecast is this? We're not worried about that. We will need departments, like most likely. So department, organization, a GL, a date table, an account table, going to be very important. An account table. We're also going to need a report, like some kind of report structure table. And that's what this is, the statement and report account map. Okay, because finance people, they like things to be in a particular order. when they look at their cash flow statement, they might want, and if we look at this version of the cash flow statement, you know, they might want the depreciation down here, and they might want this to be something else, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they want gaps in between. And so like this isn't, I wouldn't, if I was doing financial reporting for someone in Power BI, I wouldn't present this table as the final output because it doesn't look very good. It might have all the things, and this is actually this is quite sophisticated in how it's done, and we spoke about it a while ago. Um, but I wouldn't present that. I would present this isn't too bad. This isn't too bad. This is about as good as you can get in Power BI for like a P&L cash flow balance sheet without using custom visuals. And then you move into the custom visual land. And then you would look at something like Info River or one of the other custom visuals. There's lots of custom visuals associated with doing P&L. Zebra BI have a good one. I think other people do. I can't remember exactly, but yeah. But if you just want to do it in a matrix, because we just want to get the numbers right first before we start messing around with the visualization, right? So let's get the numbers right. I don't mind the new version of the matrix visual has a lot of formatting options that help us, like blanks, blank rows and things like that, help us format it so that it looks pretty good. Okay, so we know the structure we need. We just need to get her data into that structure, and then we need to build her a nice cash flow statement. Do you think data icons help or clutter tables? Data icons. Which ones? What do you mean by icons? Do you mean like is there any icons in any of these tables?
Like increase arrows and decrease arrows and things like that.
Ah, yeah. I think hey, I've got a whole folder full I just noticed I've got a whole folder full of stuff. I won't be able to find it now, of course, but hopefully I can. Where's my P&L folder full of P&L? If I just go like, see if we can find it. I had a really good little folder full of pictures of different, might be here, different, what examples? Oh, dashboard examples. I really want to find it now. No, oh, they're nice though. Nice dashboards. Of different income statements and how you can visualize them. I don't really have it. So let me just Google one. Income statement. Images. Use good old Bing. See how Bing goes these days. So there's none with little up arrows, is there? So there's this kind of one. It's pretty cool. So this is Zebra. And this has the little waterfall chart here, which is nice. Does that help? I think it's depends on your audience, depends on their appetite for that kind of thing. And I've certainly had people request specifically that they want that stuff in there, so they have up arrows and down arrows. So, and I've had other, like for this particular type of P&L where you're doing it by month, which is like is a little bit different to, I don't know, like say this type of P&L, which is a budget variance type P&L where you would have maybe up, down, 2021, like last year. So this one is showing it over time, and then this one's showing it over time, month by month, where you might not necessarily show variance, or you might have some variance columns here. But this one, it's showing metrics at the top. And so you might have, up and down in these ones. I kind of like them. Like when they're done well, I like them, but it is easy to overdo it. So I don't know. I don't even know if I answered your question, Shelley. I feel like I just rambled, but yes, sometimes yes, I think is the answer. Sometimes yes, they clutter the tables, and sometimes I think they're useful. There you go. That's the official answer. All right. We should find some data for her. I'm sure we've got some. In fact, this has data. Let's pretend that this is her data. Where is it coming from? We want to build it in Fabric. Coming from some CSV files that live in GitHub financial modeling downloads files. Okay, well, let's go to there. Let's go find those files. I remember injections2.sql. That looks scary. All right. So we've got, surprise, surprise, CSV files. And then we've got some transaction files here as well. Now, this data set that I'm using here, this sample data set, is actually like the AdventureWorks data set, financial AdventureWorks data set that I stole from someone. I will give them a proper shout out soon, but I have to remember all the details. But it's just AdventureWorks, and it's got a bunch of things. So we've got, let's see if we can look at these data sets. We've got an account table. So she's given us all the accounts with the account type. Asset, it's an asset, it's a liability, it's revenue, it's an expenditure, it's something else. This is cool. Head count, other things, non-financial accounts. We've got an account range rules. So these are rules for the account ranges that are covered in that report section. So that's kind of useful. So this is where we get into structure, and then how to map accounting data to the various areas, right? So if it's account number 6610 through to 6620, then it's part of the administration report. This is super important if you're doing P&L reporting, right, or GL reporting, because different accounts are going to be, you're going to have different account numbers, and they need to be mapped against different areas of the report. And it might be that, one department doesn't want to do that, or they do it differently, or they have different account numbers, and it's horrific. So you need to have a mapping table for that. There's a calendar table, but we know about calendar tables. We can do that. We've got a department table. It looks like it's a CSV file. Too easy. An organization table, it's got a bunch of different organizations, and then how much of the percentage of ownership. That's cool. But I don't think we'll get into that kind of detail. But that's nifty. These are the scenario table. We're not going to bring that in. This is the statement table. So this is what defines the report structure. Let's open this up. We'll have a proper look at it. No. Here's the statement table. Note that the table is a table too. It's a proper table, because in Excel, use tables, especially if you're going to put it into Power BI. Okay. So we have, this is the report style. So we're creating a cash flow report, which is CF in this little list here. CF. Okay. So we're going to create, let's have a look at the structure of the cash flow report. Why do this? Because then the accountants and the finance people can change the report structure without you needing to do anything. And if it breaks, you can blame them. That was the idea, I believe, behind this whole idea. And I kind of like it. So you can see it's got a line number. So this is filtered to just the CF report. And then the CF report has 21 lines. And then that's reflected here in my Power BI. So if I go to the CF report here, there should be 21 lines. I assume that that's 21 lines. And you can see that these report things, so profit before interest and tax is the top thing here. And we hopefully will see that it is also the top thing here, which it is. Then depreciation, then goodwill amortized, then subtotal A, right? And if we go back to here, we see the same. That's cool. And so that's how they're structuring the report to get a custom structure, and then also giving the power to the people who edit the report to move the structure around. This is not just for financial reporting. If you're doing KPI systems, like where people have a whole bunch of different crazy KPIs and they want to aggregate them all up into a giant report, this is useful as well, this type of structure. So KPIs and financial reporting, really nice to have this kind of report structure table. Here's the heading here, net cash inflow. So if we look at that in Power BI, that should be net cash inflow. There's the heading. Okay, so that's how they're doing that. They're just literally putting the heading in here, nice and easy. They've got a heading number. This is a weird implementation of how they do their calculations. I actually wouldn't do it this way. I'd just use DAX. But this person's scared of DAX and they try to do crazy stuff in Power Query and stuff to make it happen. I don't know if it's quite right, but it's a bit weird. And then that's the report types. And then so you can do cool things here. There's also this is so this I'm not so hot on in terms of the implementation. This is cool though. So they have a format here where you can change the formatting. If we look at maybe the P&L, it'll probably have it in there. So you can see this has got percentage formatting, custom formatting for these particular rows. And this is a KPI previous row, but so you can see EBITDA or EBIT, EBITDA and EBIT are both, these percentages are both formatted as percent. And then if you look at them in the report, theoretically, when we get down to EBIT, where's the percentage? Oh, I've taken it out. So there you go. You can't have that because I've taken that out of this report. Let's look at this one. This will have it in it. Here they are, EBIT percentage and EBITDA. Well, what have I done? Changed pages. There they are, and they're in percentage form. So this is dynamic. You can dynamically change the format of something. You can also, in this implementation, you can dynamically change the number of zeros. So you can show it in millions or thousands or whatever it is, which is, I like that too. Selected unit here. So if we go to basic on this, anyway, so that's kind of the features of the financial reporting that we want. We just want to make it look nicer than this. And we want to bring it into Fabric and make it refresh every day so she can do it for a morning meeting. So we're going to create a morning meeting report. I might mock it up first using the existing model that we've got here, and then we'll worry about the data side. I like to work backwards down the value stream, you know, like I think I have rambled on about this before, but I start here. Start at the report. What's the report going to look like, folks? Then what's the model going to look like? Then what does the gold layer need to look like to support the model? And then I go all the way back to the start. So I do these first three things here, and then we go back to the start. Let's mock up the report, not in Power BI, because, you know, we'll just sketch it up, man. We'll just sketch it up. What does a cash flow statement look like? What does it have in it? It's a good question. Let's get some examples of cash flow statements. Bing will provide us our examples. Can we go full screen on this? Oh, we can. Okay, so we do net earnings, additions to cash, subtractions from cash, cash flow from investing, cash flow from financing, and then that was it for that one. Net, so it looks like mostly income, cash flow from investing, cash flow from financing, net increase in cash. Okay. So you either have a net increase or a net so you get cash flow from doing things, cash flow from investing, cash flow from your finance. So that's cash flow out because you're paying for your loans. Okay, and then you have it out. Okay, let's make sure that it's all, so they all pretty much follow the same thing. So it's obviously standard in the accounting world. I'm sure if you're a finance person, you've joined this, you're like, of course it is. Greg, what are you talking about? I'm a data guy. I only do data. Cash flow from operations, investing, finance. So that's the same. Operating, investing, financing. That's the same. Okay, I've got it. Okay, I know what she needs. So she looks at cash flow and she says, man, we're losing a lot of money today. Or we lost a lot of money yesterday. So let's have a look at it in the report. Now that we've Is that what they've done? The same thing? Net cash flow in. Here's all the money. This is profit before interest and tax. Okay. So someone who's smarter than me, is cash flow a representation of the money we've made or the actual cash that's shown up in the bank account? I'm interested in that. Depreciation, goodwill amortized. Okay, so this is cash flow from operations. Movement in working capital. Change in debtors, change in creditors, net movement. Okay. Capital expenditure, purchase of assets. So this is from assets and things. Like here's operating. Oh, so, and then that makes up the operating cash flow, all of these things. Okay. This is cash flow from investments. And then you take your, what was the other thing that the cash flow was from? It's cash flow from something else, wasn't it? Financing. Oh, you pay your loans. Oh, so that's this pension and loans here. Okay. So cash flow from operations, cash flow from investments, cash flow from loans. And then net cash flow says net cash flow from operations, but that's actually all three of those things together. This is the thing, is that everyone has a different little structure, you know, and then they want it a particular way. Funds per balance sheet. Okay. That's obviously some kind of cash flow metric. Who knows lots about cash flows? Tell me good things. It's actual cash in out of the bank account. Thanks, Ange. That's what I thought it was. So I'm interested in that. I would have thought, yeah, anyway, I can think about that more as we go along. But we want the actual cash. We want to know exactly how much came in and went out. All right. We understand. So let's design our version. I'm going to use ChatGPT to help me with some ideas for questions because it's really hard to come up with these things while you're also presenting. So ChatGPT will do it. It'll be fine. Right. What sort of questions might Lisa have in her 8:30 a.m. meeting when looking at cash flow? Cash flow. He wants to know a current cash position. So that was, well, compared to forecast. Now here we go. It's thrown in some forecast stuff. That's great. Are there any large cash inflows or outflows scheduled? So she wants to know what's happening with if there's. She wants to know the schedule as well. This is what we mean. Actually, this brings up a really good point. This is definitely a segue, and I apologize. But isn't it interesting? Like I was the whole time going, oh, let's make a cash flow statement, which is our net cash position. That should be enough. And then we actually asked the person, which, you know, it's not really a person. I know that. And then she suddenly introduced forecast and she's introduced this concept of the cash flow schedule. And you're like, oh, well, that means we need now to think about how do we generate that forecast or where do we get it from? And then also, where do we get the schedule from? And how do we know that? So that's interesting, isn't it? Always pays to ask. And this is why we design the report first and don't do any work. If we had done all that work, data engineering, all cash flow, getting it all ready, taking it to Lisa, and she's like, where's my forecast? You'd be like, what do you mean forecast? What do you mean? All right. Um, how are we performing our collections? Is there any overdue accounts? So that's fair enough. She wants to know about accounts receivable. What percentage of receivables are aging in the past 60 days? So that's just standard AR. Any large payments? Do we have to pay stuff? So that's AP. Cash flow projections. Are we on track to meet our cash flow projections for the quarter? So that's again projections of forecasts, right? That's just another word for forecast. We've projected cash flow forward to the end of the quarter, and we think we're going to have $1 million in the bank, and we're currently at 800,000. So everybody pack your bags. The whole business is going down. Have there been any unexpected changes in cash flows or outflow? Okay, so that's an interesting question. Let me think about that. How do we show an unexpected change in cash flow? That would be map it against the forecast. Again, it's against forecast, right? So you say we were forecast to do this, we actually did that, and then you say you need a way to say, well, show me the transactions associated with that, and that will give you the unexpected transactions. Okay. There's a lot of questions here. I'm going to give up on and say let's find one more interesting one. Working capital, yeah, okay. Capital expenditures, yeah. So this is planning capital expenditure. I'm taking this out of scope, Lisa. This is too much. We need all of your planned capital expenditures as well. We don't want to do that. We put that in phase 2. That's the classic. The classic data engineering trick. Let's put that in phase 2. All right. What contingency measures do we have in place if our cash flow tightens unexpectedly? That's a really good question. Not in scope for this report. Thank you very much. Are we on track for servicing our debts? Do we have any upcoming obligations? That's an interesting question. Out of scope. Thanks, Lisa. You'll have to find that out another way. Inventory and supply chain impact. Is there any excess inventory tying up cash? Oh, no way. Sorry, Lisa. You're way off the reservation now. And so, oh man, that's really interesting. That's phase 3. That's phase 3. We couldn't possibly do also supply chain and inventory as a part of it. This is how you get trapped in Power BI, folks. This is how you get trapped. You agree to do a cash flow statement and suddenly you're doing inventory and supply chain. Don't get trapped. Ask the questions up front. What are the questions you are going to ask during this meeting? How are you going to do that? Good old scope creep. That's exactly what it is. They will tell you all of this stuff, and you need to address this up front. You say, well, listen, inventory and supply chain, I'm totally with you that you should be able to see excess inventory because excess inventory is cash. I understand that. But we can't do that as a part of this exercise. That's its own thing. And the reason why is because inventory is its own business process. It has its own data, and it has its own data model. It's completely outside the GL accounting. You don't put your inventory in the GL is the basic issue here, right? Which means that you would need to build a whole model that supports inventory so that we can first calculate what excess inventory is, and then we would need to bring that into this model. More than happy to do that, but understand that we can't do that as a part of a GL accounting thing. That's a whole other model building piece. And the more times you identify those pieces, there's lots in here, right? There's supply chain, so inventory and supply chain are different. And that they, like supply chain can be more about stock movement, right? So if you're talking about supply chain issues, that's potentially about movement, and then inventory is about where things are actually, like how much is there. And they you could argue they're about part of the same business process, or they might be part of different business processes depending on your business. We're already dealing with forecasts, which we didn't do that. We didn't have planned in our original scope either. Okay. So assumptions behind our cash flow forecast still valid, or do we need to revise them? So should we change our forecast? Okay, so most of this stuff's out of scope. Capital expenditure planning, that's great, but it's a different business process. It needs to have its own model. Contingency planning, that's also, well, it's not even really something you would potentially use Power BI to report on. You probably have that somewhere else. But if we were building an AI, we need to consider all of these things. And eventually we want to be able to answer all these questions. We just do it in phases, 17 phases. All right. Okay. But the things we can do, we can definitely do current cash position based on a standard. That's a standard cash flow GL accounting thing. We understand that. Interestingly, AR and AP they're kind of their own process. They probably will need a separate model. So that's 2 models we need to build. So we need to think about that. Cash flow projections is cash flow forecasting. That's part of cash flow. So we're okay with that. Working capital is part of cash flow, I think. Pretty sure it will be. I think our working capital can be calculated from the GL, so that should be fine. Capital expenditures, no. That's planning. Okay. So we're going to do these 6. And we're going to build 2 models, potentially. All right. Let's start making a report. Am I going to use whiteboard? No, I'm going to use PowerPoint. PowerPoint, my favorite mock-up tool. Mock it up in whatever you like. You can do it in Power BI too. You can do it in Power BI. It's no big deal, but I'm going to do it in PowerPoint. I'm trying to not use Power BI because I want to show you different things. I actually do have this thing called Power Mockup inside PowerPoint as well, where you can put Power BI like visualizations in. I like bought it once, and then I was talking to someone at the time. Oh, I was talking to Matt Allington, and he was like, "Why would you use that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just thought it was cool." Anyway, I wonder how Matt's going. I think he's still running the Sydney meetup, but I think he retired from Power BIing in the day to day. Power Mockup here still. Yeah, look, here it is. Show shapes panel. Look, at an old school Power BI chart. How good's that? See? Power Mockup. What a tool. What a tool. Okay, we'll create a new blank slide. And then we're going to add a text box. Oops. Insert text box. And what should we put at the top of every report, folks? Come on. If you've watched Greg Nash presentations for long enough, you should know the answer. We put a question. We put a question. And that helps us focus the report. What is our current cash balance prepared? And then you know what you can do is you like bold different areas. That makes it look cool. And we need our aardvark logo too. Let me find the aardvark logo. That's important. The logo's the most important thing. The good thing about the aardvark logo is that it starts double A, right? So I can find it at the top of my pictures all the time. That's why they chose that name, because it's in the telephone book. All right. I think we want this to be on 2 lines. Maybe not 3. There we go. How am I going to show my, okay, so current cash balance compared to the forecast amount. So that's going to be like it's going to be like a table. We have a table. Here we go, table. Put a table in there. I could change all of the font and stuff, all these values, but I'm not going to. We want to know our total cash balance. I get this to resize everything. No, this does not cooperate. I remember why I don't use Power Mockup now. Let's look at this. Can't select everything. It's so horrible. Put in the gauge. This is going to be our, not a gauge. Gauge is silly. All right. Oh, what am I doing? All right, insert a square. Draw a square. Create a square. Come on, Greg. Insert home shapes number. That one. One. Can I type in here? Obviously not. Can I add text inside a? Okay, I guess I have to do that separately. Then I'll just put a border around my text box. $1.2 billion. That's how much money we have in our cash situation. Honestly, would be just faster to do it in Power BI, wouldn't it? Maybe we should. Anyway, we're gonna have that. What's the other thing we need? So that's our current cash balance. This is our forecast amount, 1.3 billion. And then this is our variation to the forecast. Which is insert an up arrow. Shapes, home, shapes, arrow. Oh, we're kind of down, aren't we? We're down X%. Doesn't really matter what I put in here. Down 3%. Make the arrow red. Okay, we're riffing on this. We're thinking about it. There's going to be a table here. This is going to break down all of the cash accounts or something like that. What the current status is of each of the cash accounts. Maybe we should show our cash balance over time. Oh, actually, a waterfall is a good idea for this, which is what they had in here, right? In our actual cash flow statement before I deleted it. That was no, undelete that waterfall. There it is. So they had variance by country. Oh, actually, they had something going on, some kind of waterfall chart. I'll fix that up. Yeah, you do it by different headings. What will we do this by? Okay, so we were going inflow, operations, investments, loans. So maybe we could show something like that. That's some kind of waterfall chart. That'd be cool. Right, there's our waterfall. So then the first thing she opens up when she gets, and we'll refine this as we go based on feedback from our customer, from our pretend customer. But you get the idea. You mock something up and you say to her, "Hey Lisa, I'm thinking about your report for your monthly meeting. This is the first page. What do you think?" And she says, "Oh, actually, what I really need to know is this, and can we select that?" And then it's good to see the current cash balance, but actually, what I really need is something else. And then you fix it up, and then that's going to be that page. Okay. So you don't even have to, just send her a screenshot, just snip it, and then send it over to her and go, "What do you think of this?" If you're really clever, you can mock up fake data in Power BI and do it in Power BI. Sometimes we do that. Depends if it's something that's easy to mock up data for or not. But yeah, this is a good way to go because then you don't build anything unnecessary because all the hard work is doing the data engineering part, right? We know that. So we're building this. We want to make sure she's happy. Whoa, I dropped my microphone, so apologies. That was pretty crazy. Okay, what was the second thing she asked? Is there any large cash inflows or outflows scheduled for the next few days that we need to plan around? Well, that's the second page of our report. Let's duplicate this actually, so I don't have to do the logo again. Paste text, match text, use destination. Now, if you might get briefer with your question, right? Maybe you just call this cash inflow and outflow instead of having that whole question associated with it. And then what's really good is if you do that, but then also have the question at the bottom. And then you make this lighter like this. And you make it smaller. And this is for people who know the report already. They just read this and go, oh, we're at the inflow and outflow. And then people who don't know what the report is, they can read the light text and understand exactly what this report's about. So you're building it for everybody. You're building it for people who know and people who don't know. And then we'd have to have a think about what visuals would be on our cash inflow and outflow page, right? What is cash inflow and outflow? What do we need to show? We need to show cash in and then cash out, and then cash in by whatever, and then cash out by whatever, and then maybe another waterfall chart showing the ins and outs, just like kind of like this. And what were the causes? And then you probably want to drill down and see the actual transactions, all that kind of cool stuff. So, see, that's much nicer than that. Let's change this one to that too. Choose format painter and then format paint this. And then put this down there. And then copy this. And we'll call this cash balances. Nice one. Now we have a second page. And the report follows the natural flow of the meeting as well, right? Then we build an AR page, then we build an AP page, and we're doing one page for each one of these questions. So, well, how do collections look? What percentage of receivables are aging past? So we need to show some aged debtors, etc., etc., etc. And that is how you mock up a report for a finance person, and they say, oh, I don't want any waterfall charts. So just give me a table, and can I export it to Excel? And you say, sure, let's just build it in Excel. Why would we bother with Power BI? You might as well. We'll build the model in Fabric, and we'll model it in Power BI, and then you can just have an Excel report. Would you like that? And totally do it. Let people use the tools that they like. Right. So what is going to happen next? I am going to mock up the rest of these things. I'm going to do them properly. I probably will just do scribbly sketches, knowing me, instead of trying to mess around with these power mock-up shapes. Essentially, what I want to do is just get a good idea of across all of the reports that have now agreed to build, which is these first 6, I think I said. We need to mock each one of those up. So I'll do a quick mock-up of each one of them. Let's talk about the data model as the last piece. So when we have all of the report pages ready to go, let's go back to our little whiteboard, which was here somewhere, that one. Here's our whiteboard. We started here. What is the report going to look like? Well, now the next step, what is the model going to look like? Okay. So based on what we have here, we need to know, let's say that this was broken down by particular dimension, like department, for example. We need to have department. We need to have cash flow, inflow, and outflow. That means we need cash in and we need cash out. We need to know balances. So we need to know cash balances. So is cash balances going to be captured in the GL? I don't know about that. Wouldn't it be captured in a bank transactions type table? Yeah. So we have to think about what our model's going to look like. And then for models, I definitely just sketch them up. Let's just find some blank space. So I'm like, okay, so far in our fact GL or whatever we're going to call this fact table, I need to know cash flow. What was it? Cash flow balances. And I need to know cash in, and I need to know cash in transactions. Makes sense. Balances and cash in and cash out are all part of the bank transaction type stuff. Cash out. This is all coming out of bank accounts, etc., etc., etc. So if this was a zero model, there is actually like a bank transactions table, right? And I'd be turning it into that table. So I'd turn bank transactions from source data into this fact that has these metrics in it. That's going to be the data engineering task so far anyway. And then we're going to bring it out by department. And we're going to bring it out by, that's the best written department ever. I think I just broke whiteboard. I may have. Okay, and then we're going to have date here. Date. And we're definitely going to have account here. See the breakdown by different accounts. And that's probably all we need right now. That gives us this report and it gives us this part of the report. But we also need accounts receivable and accounts payable. For accounts receivable, that means we need to know invoices. And this might be a business rule thing because you go, well, okay, do you want invoices or do you want the AR, like the AR tables or accounts from the GL? And they say, no, we want the GL ones. So that's just more GL. So then we need stuff out of the GL. And that might be true of these bank transactions as well. They might get put into the GL. I don't know enough about accounting whether they do or not. They probably do, let's face it. So we might have another one which has all of our transactions for our AR and AP. Payables and receivables. And then we join that to account and to date and to department. And so we slowly build up our data model based on the different report pages that we make. And then we've completed the reporting and modeling stage. It's all conceptual right now, but I mean, it depends on the size of the project and how much time you've got and all that kind of stuff. But this will save you a ton of time downstream. There's no point doing any of the other stuff until you've got this nailed down, to be honest. You can get feedback. You can build a POC, like you could build a quick data model. You could use this data model and say, hey, it's going to look exactly like this, like it's going to look, here's the data model we've got. We've got a GL, we've got department. This isn't our data, but it's like, I stole this from Greg. I pinged him on LinkedIn and said, hey, can you send me that income statement data model and all the information about it? Because this is just like out there in the world. And I send you a GitHub and you download it and you go, hey, here's some P&L reporting. What do you think? Or cash flow reporting. And you mock it up and then people, have an opportunity to tell you what's wrong with it before you go hardcore getting data out of complex systems and trying to transform it and all that kind of stuff. What accounts do they actually use in there? Oh, where's my report? Oh, interesting. For this other account. Account types, liabilities, assets, cash, assets. Okay. Receivables is assets as well. Expenditures, revenues. Anyway, I was trying to just figure out some stuff around cash flow. I think we've run out of time. Sorry, folks. So that is the beginning of the building the cool thing. We're going to figure out, yes, I'm going to mock up these reports. We're going to have a little look at those. I'll probably will do those data models instead of that scribbly drawing I just did. I'll do a proper data model mock-up ready for next time we do this. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing it next week. I'm traveling. I am working, but I'm traveling. And so it might be hard for me to do lunch and learn, but if I can do it, I will, because I like doing lunch and learn. So, we'll figure out what our data model needs to look like. We'll figure out what our report page is going to look like for this first report that we're building for our CFO, Lisa. I'll work through these questions and then, man, we should have a really good idea of what we need to build. And then we should have a really good idea of the structure the data needs to be in. Then we can start looking at data and go, okay, now we need to figure out how to make this data look like this. And I'll try and make it different to this enough so that we have to do a little bit of manipulation instead of just copying this. This is cool, but I want to do something that's slightly different. That will be it. That will be it. That's it, folks. We've got lots happening in the community. We've got the Definity conference coming up. I'll be speaking. It's in Melbourne, Sydney, and Auckland. So if you haven't If you haven't got your ticket for Divinity, and I recommend doing it because, you know, we don't get that many Power BI conferences here in Australia. So you should come along. It's Reza Rad is running it. The Reza, the man. I'll find a link for you right now. It's probably still early bird. There's probably all sorts of cool things that you can get. I don't think it's very expensive either. Here we go. It's divinity.co.nz. Copy link. Paste it in the chat. Someone's probably already done it. No, they haven't. That's not. That's like a giant Bing thing. I just want the. My God. Okay, here it is. Divinity.co.nz. Because it's Reza, so he's an NZ guy. But it's coming to Melbourne. It's also coming to Sydney, if you're in Sydney. Get some tickets to Divinity. I'll be speaking on CICD for Fabric. I'll also be. I think I'm doing other things. Oh, I can't remember what I'm doing. I'm doing all sorts of stuff. It's in 76 days. Actually, it feels like it's felt like it's really close, but it's actually 76 days, which is plenty of time. 28th of November 2024 in Auckland, I think it starts. And then we zoom to Sydney and then we zoom to Melbourne or the other way around, one of the two. How excitement. We've also had the call for speakers for the Power BI and Fabric Summit, the global summit that happens early in the year. So I'll be speaking. Hopefully, I'll be speaking at that if I get picked. I've submitted my sessions anyway, so look out for that one. Oh, look at that. Shelley actually found the session. Good work. CI/CD Essentials. So if you want to learn about CI/CD and Fabric, we've covered it a few times in these sessions. So if you come into these sessions, you probably won't learn anything. But you know, we can we'll be talking about it again soon. Actually, if we're doing data, but that'll be it. Thanks, folks. Good to see you all. Have a great weekend. I hope it's nice and sunny, or the weather's improving at least. I'm just looking outside and it looks pretty average here. Pretty average. I'm floating around Canberra and Sydney in the next 2 weeks. If you're around in Canberra or Sydney, then ping me and I'll come and have a coffee with you. That'd be fun. But if not, I'll see you all next week for another exciting edition. And if it doesn't happen, I apologize. We'll have to move it until I can do a session again. All right. Thanks you very much. Have a great one and see you soon.